All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Osmic here. It's going to be your SITREP. It is 4/9/2024, and we are going to get into the SITREP for this week as we talk. Well, let's talk about this eclipse. What was NASA up to during that time? It looks like we got some things going on in the skies that were outside of what I think anybody expected. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the things that we did expect, like the missiles that were being fired, etc. What was the rationale behind them? And then, of course, we're going to get into some of the other details going on around the world relative to, the Ruskies and the Ukrainians and what's going on with that. And then we're going to talk some more about some of the other aspects happening around the world relative to that. And Israel, of course, we're going to talk about Israel. We have been told that, the Iranians were going to strike within 48 hours, and we haven't seen that. However, we do have some indicators that that maybe that northern border is about to go hot, and that's coming from the Israeli intelligence side. And don't think for a minute that the U.S. is going to escape all of this, because remember, the Iranians have said that they hold us responsible as well as Israel responsible. So that would mean that they're coming at us as well, more than likely. As I stated before, I think if they do anything at all, it'll be at a distance. And from that, I mean, they will use their proxies to attack whatever it is they are, because they are cowards and don't have the huevos rancheros, as we say here in Texas, to pull anything off directly. So let's do this. I'm going to jump over here to the mini real fast. If you have not done so and you still want to take care of your family, or you want to just add to your quiver, listen, My Patriot Supply, they have sponsored this show. They are an affiliate program with us. If you jump over to monkeyworksprep.com, that's monkeyworksprep.com, they still have this amazing deal. These usually don't last this long, but they've got a 3-month emergency food supply that is $200 off right now. And it is, once they're gone, they're gone. So again, 2,000 calories per day, 22 varieties, 25 years shelf life, includes breakfast, lunches, dinners, drinks, snacks, etc. 120 pounds worth of food, and it ships fast and free here domestically in the United States. If you're outside of the country, I really can't help you with that one. But I am sure that you have resources in your own community, or at least in your country, that you can do that. Now, that also said, if you were wanting to get monkey gear, that is shirts, hats, whatever it may be, we now have our shop set up. I told you the international piece was coming. It is limited. We can sell things in Australia, UK, and Canada. There are a couple items that we can't get, like 3/4 zips, etc., in those countries, but everything else should be there. So if you've been waiting, it is out there now. So that said, this monkeyworksprep.com, that's monkeyworksprep.com. You can jump on over there. They also have this little 72-hour emergency food supply. Again, $27. That's not bad. And it's good stuff. It beats going and looking at the grocery shelves like this, or fighting with people to get food. So again, just amazing assortment. And you can jump over there at monkeyworksprep.com. Now, let's get into the deets. As we talk about what is up right now in the United States, we do have a big patch of weather that's moving right across the center here. You can see really nothing in that area. It is pretty volatile in that area as we speak. A lot of lightning, a lot of thunder, a lot of hail and wind, etc. But sitting on the board, 257 up. Now, the big key thing here is notice the amount of intel balloons that are up at the high altitude. So these right here and these right here. And we have several that are out here. We know they're just not showing. They like to do that to us. So there is that aspect of it. Now, if we look at the H-60s, 35 of those, as you can see, northeast, very active and busy. This area we kind of ignore in the panhandle at least. But that's going to be your H-60s. Now we jump over to Europe just very briefly to see. Yeah, nothing really to speak of. That tells me there's not really a big exercise going on, as they have told us they were going to be doing. So, and air refuelers, look at this, 30 of those up. Notice this amount out here over the Atlantic, over the kind of Bahamas and out towards, kind of Guantanamo Bay down here. That tells me you got fighters out here for some crazy reason. Same thing on the East Coast here. So that is a little bit interesting. And if we add the Pegasus to it, you can see there's 11 more we just added to the sky. Pretty active and busy for air refuelers on this Tuesday. So, okay, let's get into the deets. We're going to talk first up. We're going to say, let's get into the intel aspect. Last 5 days, which is interesting. Only 29 up over the last 5 days. You can see in the usual locations, southern Tucson all the way over to California, then over the DC area as well. And then we get over to Europe, and it's quite light. Typically, we see a lot of activity going on. We've got the stuff happening over Romania, but look at Israel. Now, notice how deep this runs right along the border there. They don't really go anywhere else other than Israel and into Lebanon and Syria. And then, of course, this piece, South Korea, right? You get down to Manila in the Philippines, and then you get over here into Malaysia. Again, intel gathering aircraft, all right? Okay, now let's talk AWACS. What's been going on with these guys? We'll start off down in Australia. As you can see that, the usual suspects that we normally see down there. Now, the interesting side is when we get to Europe. Remember, advanced warning system, man in the middle. They can do quite a bit of intel gathering as well as not just looking for nukes. But notice the broken trace headed towards Cyprus, high altitude over Cyprus. Looks like it comes back to, maybe. Well, I say that. It comes back to Italy, it looks like, maybe. Or there into Europe, but hard to tell from that. But then look at this coast to coast, and look at the little branches that drip down kind of into Southern California, along into that the Texas border side. That's kind of an unusual pattern. We haven't seen that from an AWACS perspective. And then, of course, we've got some, it looks like, up here in Alaska doing something. Looks like they took off, disappeared, and then came back. So, all right, that's going to be your AWACS. Now let's talk R-135. This piece, that looks like a calibration flight there over kind of Tyler, Texas, near the border of Louisiana. This piece right here, I think they're looking at something in Montana. I know that sounds crazy, but remember, they're side looking. And so if you look at the two angles, that would tell me they're looking at something within that region. All right, very light all the way around, even in Europe. And you can see something bouncing off out of Okinawa, but that's it. R-135s. Let's talk drones. Just notice this taking off out of Japan, kind of headed down towards South Korea. It really kind of stayed over or near Japan. And then, of course, we get over to Europe. Notice you got high altitude, Q4 drone, more than likely headed out over the Black Sea. And then we've got some stuff, looks to be bouncing out of Crete, and then down towards Bahrain, and then very low altitude over the Mediterranean. Now let's look at the United States. The interesting piece of the U.S. is that I see a bunch of aircraft that look to be flurrying out of Southern California, right? We see one head out into the danger area that we watch. But then you've got them headed into the eastern or southeast, and then the looks like DC. So I don't know what they're up to, but it's a data point for us, right? So, okay, now let's talk. We'll break for a second. Let's talk survey flights. This is interesting because we're going to get into some news articles here in just a minute that are going to talk about Allstate and many of the other insurance companies that are actually utilizing this data to spy on their customers and to basically drop their customers or increase policy or whatever it may be. Could this be the reason behind it? I don't know. We're going to get into that here in just a second. Let's jump over here real fast. If you haven't bid on this quilt and you want to, it is currently up at $25.25. We got 5 days left until that ends, and whoever's at the top of this is going to be getting themselves a very nice 80-inch by 80-inch quilt Again, Miss Monkey made this. All the proceeds, 100%. Whatever we get for this is actually going straight to charity. So let me bounce on over here to this. Now, if you're wondering what was NOAA up to during the eclipse, well, this gets kind of interesting. So NASA leans into the solar eclipse with 3 rocket launches, and they were basically checking out, like, is communications interrupted during a solar event? Well, I don't know. They haven't announced the findings yet, but they're saying that the next solar eclipse doesn't come through here till 2044. But this is where they launch those rockets in this general area. You can see the launch times. I think that's associated with launch times. But the whole idea was to check out really what exactly happens. Now, there were people on ground that saw these rockets going through the clouds and acted completely clueless and freaked out about it. But NASA announced weeks leading up to this that they were going to do this very thing. So anyway, that was the first piece. Now, here is another thing that was taking place. Now, this talks about the geoengineering test quietly launches salt crystals into the atmosphere. This happened out over San Francisco. They said it came out of the bay from a aircraft carrier that is no longer in service, that it's just parked there, and that's what they used to launch out of. I assume they were rockets. But this is an interesting piece, and the reason it is because they're talking about this. It's solar radiation modification. New word for me. I don't get it, but evidently they're putting these salt crystals into the clouds that cause the clouds to reflect the sun back, which I don't understand why you would want to do that. This whole climate change thing is hogwash to begin with, but it is just it's a way to control us. But if they can stop us from getting sunlight, they start to cool things. This could go into total calamity very rapidly if not held in check. You can watch the weather modification stuff and see the same thing. So, okay, now this let's do this. I want to show you the flights that were happening yesterday during the solar eclipse. All right, and leading up to it. This is going to be NOAA. This is interesting because I see them actually departing the United States. We have, it looks to be NASA heading off to somewhere in the Middle East. What they're doing, I don't know. But then look at this flight, almost along the path of the eclipse. But as we drill down and get a closer look, you can see a lot, almost like survey flight, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's a lot of airtime right there. Then we've got this low altitude stuff. We've got some very high altitude things as they follow the path, and then some stuff happening up here in Alaska. Now, what is all of that about? No earthly idea. Very odd and strange to me that it seems to be, well, it's kind of crazy when you think about it, that the entire country, the media pumped all of this stuff out. Everybody and their brother. We had overcast skies. You couldn't really see it in certain areas. Most of areas were actually blocked. But, people still managed to get little pictures of, areas that weren't completely covered up. But have you ever seen anything like it? I haven't. And in my lifetime, I don't remember so much calamity associated with the solar eclipse. You would think the sky was going to fall. We had terrorist attacks that were, we were being told that stay vigilant during this time, and telling people to store food and water, and shut down transportation in Texas and other states, and just crazy things that were taking shape. And then we had, you had CERN firing up. You had NASA up doing all kinds of different experiments. It's like I said, you would think we have never seen a solar eclipse before, that we've never done any kind of studies like this. It just seems off. Of course, nothing happened, and that's exactly what we said was going to happen, was nothing. We just talked about the fact that they had all of these alerts and things being issued, but nothing really came out of it other than some very strange activity by our government. And we'll just wait and see what happened from it. If anything, probably never hear other than unless we were just being sprayed and we don't know about it. But you wouldn't know because it was all above the clouds for the most part. So now, what you see on the screen behind me are the Weather Mod guys. Okay, that's Weather Modification LLC. Notice that the Saudis continue to spray their skies. And I mean a lot. They've been doing this for quite some time. Clearly, they have a lot of budget to do it. Now, we've been showing you that there have been weather modification TFRs over here in the general area like Jakarta, but I see no flights associated with that. I don't see any NOAA flights up there. We've been watching them too. That right there that we just looked at, let me just hit this again. When you get to the eastern seaboard, this is a company that goes by the name of SOAR. It's Seeding Operations and Atmospheric Research. They evidently they have some contract. They're doing studies probably on the lobster stuff or something crazy in relative to the water and the atmosphere, how it all ties together. NASA was doing this for a while. It looks like they've subcontracted that work out to the SOAR company. Okay, so anyway, let's do this. Let's get back over here to our board. Let's move on with what else is going on out here. Now, this I find interesting. This has to do with our immigrant policy, right? Our immigration policy and the fact that these are illegals and many of them criminals coming across our border. Have you noticed that all the women and children stop showing up at our border? It is in such a small, limited amount now. My guess was that they were flying them directly in, but it seemed to subside after our government managed to lose 85,000 children in the past year. Coming across the border, they just vanished. Yeah, you don't hear anybody talking about that. Where'd they go? No idea, but certainly stinks to high heaven. But let's talk about what is coming across. It is fighting age males, primarily from every country known to man. And then, of course, the criminal scene is absolutely insane. So check this out. This is over on Blaze TV. It's burglary terrorism is a national issue. Police warn about an uptick in foreign criminals abusing the visa waiver program. Now, I'm going to go down because this is your big takeaway. The criminals, mainly from Chile, enter the U.S. through the tourist visa system, which does not require travelers from eligible countries to submit a background check. You let that sink in. You're taking people you know absolutely nothing about. Zero. You don't even know if their names are the real names. Coming across the border, and you are basically turning a blind eye to their background. So when you get serial rapists, you get murderers, you get felony convictions, drug lords, gangs, everything coming across, stealing everything in their, that they can get their hands on. They get caught, and then you find out, oh, this guy has kind of the history for that. But the United States government is turning a blind eye. Now, this is just absolutely crazy because then you start hearing them talking about, well, we want to give illegals guns to let them have access to our Second Amendment rights here, even though they're not citizens. Yeah, this whole thing stinks to high heaven, folks. Okay, hey, look, this is the Swift Air flights. Now, this is blank because they went bankrupt. They're no longer in business, no longer operating. Their aircraft are all parked, and that is because they got slow-rolled by the U.S. government in terms of payment. I can guarantee you that. You don't do 5,500 flights in a year bringing illegals into the country with a sole contract with the DOD and Homeland Security and go out of business. You just, unless you underbid it and you're not making money, no, that's not what happens. They probably overbid it. The problem is the U.S. government slow rolls people on payment. And so you can't continue an operation when you're getting paid every 90 days when the terms are due on receipt, probably, right? Or net 10. Anyway, Blank skies. So that means that these folks are now being given tickets on major airlines, and they're just going to blend in with the system. We won't be able to track them anymore. That's what that means. All right, here we go. Now, we were talking about survey flights. We're going to look at these because this is a big number. It continues on well over 50,000 flights. But we have been saying, they're mapping a battlefield. That was my opinion because they're doing it in a lot of other countries as well as the United States. But we're completely covered up. Now, let me show you this. Insurers spy on houses via aerial imagery, seeking reasons to cancel coverage. It's because insurance companies are starting to lose money. So you take companies like Allstate, who they say inside this article, buy zero hedge. It says here, let's just kind of get into the deets of it. Insurance companies across the country are using satellites, drones, manned airplanes, those are survey flights, and even high altitude balloons. What? You mean these things sitting over our head 24/7? To spy on properties they cover with homeowners' policies. Now, they're basically saying that this is kind of crazy now. They look at vegetation and the proximity of vegetation around properties. They're looking at whether or not your roof has, is it a new roof or an old roof? So check this out. It says here, if your roof is 20 years old and one hailstorm is going to take it off, you should pay more than somebody with a brand new roof. So now it's if you make more money or you are a higher risk, you're going to pay more for a hamburger than other people. Insurance is shaped the same way. You don't think we're a socialist program, but really we are, because what happens is people that make more money pay more for insurance coverage, even though it's the same coverage as somebody that doesn't make hardly any money. It's the world we live in. But this is going to get slippery slope because now you've got them going out and saying, you know what, this is a high-risk property. They've had too many claims. They're in a high hail area or a fire area, whatever it may be, and they're just going to drop you without any reason behind it. And good luck getting coverage elsewhere. All right. But they're using this data against you. All right. Now, let's look at the survey flights, and you wonder, well, just how much are they using? Well, 488 flights in the last 5 days. Notice North Texas, that's an area that's getting a lot of hail right now, is covered up. Look at all the spots. They continue to go over and over and over and over. And oh, by the way, winter is usually the time they do most of these survey flights. So to see them now tells you that there is some different dynamics being applied. All right. And then, of course, you get over to Europe, and we still have some stuff there coming across Poland and into kind of the Netherlands area, down into Portugal, a little bit in Spain. I can't explain that unless they have insurance companies doing that over there. I still feel like they're mapping a battlefield for when everything goes south. They could also be doing some type of an asset assessment utilizing this data, okay? Which would be, okay, we go to digital currency. How much is your stuff worth? And that's the amount of credits we're going to give you, all right? Something along those lines. I don't know. But it's definitely... We knew they're using this against us. This is probably may or may not even be part of what the survey flights are, but we do know that they're using everything they can to gather data and to utilize that against you. Okay. All right. You know what you think? Hey, you want to do something proactive to stop some of the bleeding? Why don't you go after these weather modification companies? Yeah, that's your root cause. All right, let's talk about Flashbang. Doesn't look like he is much to anything. Looks like he may be handing out some checks here. We've got the Prime Minister of Japan, along with his wife, actually coming over to the White House. So there you have it, a big nothing. Okay, well, this is kind of strange. So they have these rallies happening, and they're chanting "Death to America." But wait, they're in America. Oh, what? Makes zero sense. Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. We're just letting everybody in. We're bringing them in on flights. We're flying them straight out of Gaza and the West Bank, bringing them straight into the United States. And that's what you get. You get people that are pro-Palestinian, that want death of this country, and they don't care if they're living in the country because they just go somewhere else. They're like, like locusts, I guess. And they just descend on whatever area fits their need for right now. And of course, we are all the infidel, if you haven't figured that out. So, okay, well, let's look. Remember, I was showing you the flights that were bouncing out here, down here in this general area. These are danger boxes. This is a weather mod box. Danger box. Looks like we have quite a few different things happening. These red boxes are active boxes. These orange are ongoing, long-term boxes in terms of TFRs. And then these are, look at the amount of danger boxes off the eastern seaboard and then into the Gulf of Mexico. That's pretty hot and heavy. All right. And you can see that right there is some serious heavy-duty turbulence. That's what that red is right there. So that's at 18,000 feet. Let's see how high up it goes until it dissipates. Oof. You're talking 40,000 feet. Oh, that one's even 45,000. So it's still right over here. That's a pretty big storm. Okay, now we go out here. We're just going to back up. I'm going to go out to this side. I just want to see if we've got any more weather mod boxes in the general area. This is kind of where it was last time. Nope. Mill exercise going on there. And let's see if these are weather mods. Let's just see exercise and exercise. All right. So it looks like we've got a lot of exercises going on. I do know U.S. Army is getting ready to do a pretty big exercise down here in actually in the Philippines here. So, all right. Now let's take a gander. What is all of this over Saudi? It looks like they've got some danger boxes over that area too. Aerial survey scheduled. What? Around Mecca, Medina. Well, there you have it. Again, I have been watching for these, these surveys for a while, but I've never really seen them do TFRs associated with surveys. That's going to be LiDAR, so they'll be running through here with the laser imagery there, and it looks also like a danger box. So surveys. Interesting. All right, let's go check this. Same thing. So we've got two boxes here now telling them that they're going to be doing surveys, conducting surveys over this area. All right. Not seeing really, I mean, we expect Tel Aviv to be completely covered up. It looks to be, that's pretty accurate, but the rest of this, not really sure. So, all right. I do find it, look at this ring that goes completely around this general area. That is kind of an interesting thing, isn't it? Okay. All right, let's move on. Let's get over to the cyber attack side of the house just to see U.S. again, numero uno, Romania, Bulgaria, actually China is number 3, which is interesting. But you can see we're getting peppered pretty hot and heavily like always. Okay, now you may remember back when Trump was in office how he went to the NATO folks and he basically said, look, United States is footing 90% of the bill. You guys, every one of you need to start stepping up or the U.S. is pulling out of NATO. Well, they all went up in arms over at that statement. And, well, here's where we are. So Germany reportedly goes on the military spending spree to hit the NATO spending minimums for the first time. So they didn't do it when Trump was in. He fired a shot over the bow, but it looks like they have since started to buy stuff. You can see the spend pretty low, and then all of a sudden it spikes right here. And it looks like they are working to do this. We'll just see what happens. But at the end of the day, NATO is going to have to start stepping up because the U.S. has kind of tightened the purse strings a little bit for now on Ukraine. We know that's going to change as soon as good old, Rhino Johnson gets in there and gives them what they want. You know, they basically, if they stop flying the LGBTQ flag on all their embassies, they'll get, trillions of dollars in spending money that they can just go give and hand out to all of their brethren. You may remember basically Uranium One when it was the pay-to-play thing where the State Department went around and started giving countries money for various programs, but they didn't tell you the catch to it was that those country leaders would actually turn around and cut a check from that same money to the Clinton Foundation. Yeah, that actually happened. And it was the whole Uranium One scandal. And guess who went to jail over that? No one. Not a soul. Not a soul. Let that sink in. That's because they're all corrupt. Yeah. And you wonder why they have no accountability for what they're spending in terms of our tax dollars. Yeah, that's why. Because they're not held accountable. You and I are, though. If you slip up on your taxes just very briefly, they're coming at you sideways. Yes, they got to get their pound of flesh. All right, this is Dover. Just the big takeaway here is just notice you got two 747s rolling in and two rolling out. They're headed to Europe, both of them. All right, and then another one looks like a third one is coming in. That's Coletta. Okay, moving on over here to this side. This is Ramstein. Big takeaway, C-130 looks to be rolling in there. You got a Camber Flight 777 coming out of Sofia, Bulgaria. And then leaving, you got C-17. You've got Valor 21. That's probably C-130. Same with these here. And then Camber Flight headed to Baltimore, Washington, 777-200. And then that's going to be a Navy, little Navy bird. And then that one coming inbound from Dover. RZE Poland. This is a forward operating base. I see base commanders coming in. As I go down, I see some of the Brits coming in. Not seeing, let me just look on the departure board. Yeah, I'm not seeing a lot. So very quiet over there in RZE Poland right now. All right. Now check this out. Ukraine eyes an unexpected F-16 boost from a European ally. Yeah, that's Greece. This is over on Newsweek, but Greece is basically saying they could transfer, and that it's a very, very likely or almost certain. They're going to transfer 32 F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. Now, geopolitically, this is kind of crazy because think about this. Greece is part of NATO, but the Greek media, remember, they are basically at odds with Turkey, who is also part of NATO. Turkey has the alliance with Russia as well as Iran. But what does this do to the geopolitical scene? This could change things a little bit. We know that there has been some turmoil because Turkey wants to go back to the Ottoman Empire. And so they've got a little bit of friction there with Greece. Let's just watch it and see what happens. But them ponying up 32 F-16s is certainly going to make Turkey's ally, Russia, very uncomfortable. So it looks like what they're trying to do is basically just get rid of some of the older aircraft and then buy in, take that money and then buy some new modern aircraft. All right. Okay, National Cargo. Looks like one coming. There's the one out of Dover headed to League. And then we've got some there in Europe. Is this one right here coming out of the Middle East. But just 3 airborne. And let's move on. This is going to be your British camber flight, so to speak, the Ascot. And they look to be only 3 of those up, but just notice they are all over Europe for the most part. This one looks to be coming out of Norway. Okay. Interesting. All right. Let's go over here to camber. Now, this has cycled. I will tell you, I was looking at it earlier. There was a lot more than this on the board. But everything we're seeing up here is almost all of it is Europe. All right. Except for this one looks to be coming out of the United States. We had several actually stacked up landing in Dover on the rotation side. But you can see all the little green dots all over the locations that they have been in and out of, right? All right, here's your Omni. 2 of those up. Remember, they serve mini masters, but this one's coming out of Alliance over to El Paso and then Norfolk to Shannon. So this is probably troops. This is probably immigrants. All right. Okay, this is Doha. Not seeing too much. I do see some U.S. assets here, like this Moose 55. That's definitely, I think that's a C-130. Could be a C-17, but that's the only one I see on the board in terms of that. But let's talk about what's going on with respect to Israel. And you're going to see Israel says readiness advances for war on the Lebanese border. And we just keep seeing them stacking up on the north. Just keep your eye on Damascus. As I say, or have said in the past, Isaiah 17, Damascus is no more. That's what you want to keep your eyes on. If Iran starts to stack up things inside Damascus, you may very well see Isaiah 17 come into fruition. So now look at this. You're wondering why they continue to talk about hostage negotiation and ceasefires and everything else. But then you're like, why do they not go and get these hostages? Well, check this out. Hamas comes clean and says 40 hostages aren't even alive anymore. They killed them all, every single one of them. And so that is a data point for you, but this is coming right here. I mean, nearly 2 days after the CIA of the U.S. proposed to advance a deal between Israel and Hamas to secure the release of these 40 hostages held in Gaza, the terror group has reportedly said it does not have those 40 hostages and that they are really no longer alive. So that will probably get things going here pretty quickly in terms of the Gaza offensive. All right. And then this one, just like I said before as well, that Iran has zero desire to fight and confront someone head on. They are going to do it all from afar. They're going to use their proxies, which would be Hezbollah, Hamas, as well as the Houthis. Okay. And so they're urging their proxy groups to launch a large-scale attack on Israel. Don't think that the U.S. isn't part of this as well. All right. All right. Listen, that is going to do it for our SITREP today. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you on Thursday with our next one. That's keep that powder dry and stay frosty for sure. Between now and the election, there are 1,000 different things that could happen. And we need to be prepared for as many of those as we can. So that's it. You guys be safe. God bless. Monkey out. Thanks for watching, folks. You can check out the latest gear and products by selecting the QR code on your screen now or go to monkeyworksus.com.